When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there, good morning everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode. Yes, I can say it's amazing before we've even brought a guest on, because this is a guest today who should have been on about 5 weeks ago, and we've had so many issues. This is the fourth time that we've tried this, so he's going to come on, he's going to deliver like I know he can, and of course I'm going to deliver as well, because I feel like I've let him down somewhat. He's a man with an amazing story of persistence, failure, hardship, and finding the thing that made all the difference, and coming to North America as a teenager with almost no English and no contacts to ease the way to the success he is experiencing today. Life was hard. As he says, my parents and I immigrated to Vancouver, Canada when I was 14 years old, and I came to Canada as a teenager with no money, no contacts, and without knowing a word of English. Then when I turned 16, my parents got a divorce, and as the only child, my mum needed help financially, so I had to put school aside and put her well-being first. I learned to support my mum by practicing the basic principles of life and business. Now, I failed at 13 businesses, yes, 13, before having my first success, and through the process, I perfected the art of never giving up and learned from my mistakes. Now, life back then was never easy, but today I can say that I'm blessed to have attained a lot of my life goals. Today I spend most of my time helping consultants, coaches, speakers and thought leaders grow their businesses and scale it past 5 and 6 figures per month, while amplifying their impact in the world and helping them achieve their business and life goals. I know if I can impact 1 million leaders, they can go out and impact billions. And that's where he is today. Known as the King of High-Ticket Sales, a 2-time TEDx opening speaker, and international best-selling author of 12 books. And not just that, but he's the highest paid and most in-demand consultant in the luxury and high-ticket space, and has been featured on the cover of Jetset Magazine. He's now a founder or partner in more than 15 companies in various industries, ranging from luxury goods, digital marketing, education, and e-commerce. He's passionate about helping coaches, consultants, and other entrepreneurs make more money selling to fewer people. A true success story that shows that the American dream, or at least the Canadian one, is still alive and kicking if you only want it hard enough. So when did the true confidence that he's now showing today first come through, and the shy, hesitant teenager get left behind forever? And does he look back and think, man, I'm actually glad that those 13 businesses failed, or I wouldn't be where I am today? Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Mr. Dan Lok. Good morning, Dan. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, David. That's quite an introduction. I hope I would live up to that great intro.
Oh, you're all right, Dan. No one listens to this show anyway, so nobody will know. Nobody will know. And we
just you and I. Just you and I.
Yes, you and me. So it's an amazing story. And to be honest, I've become a bit of an obsessive person. I have a lot of guests that come on the show, and they give a certain amount of pitch. And then I go over and I do my due diligence. But with yourself, the more I get into it, the more that I realise that it was the failures that led you here. Is that the same with all people, or is it really the sort of the story behind your success? You wouldn't be here without the failures.
I think absolutely. Sometimes when I joke with my mentees and I say, I'm here today and why I am teaching and mentoring and speaking in front of you, because I probably have lost more money than all of you guys combined. So I would be the biggest failure in the group. And that's why I'm the leader of the group, just because I've experienced a lot more different things and adversity. I always say that your adversity is your greatest advantage. That you notice anyone that's super successful, that they usually have been through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of failures. They made a lot of mistakes. And all those things, I believe, they, at the end, depends on how you see it, they build your character. So nowadays, nothing bothers me that much, because just I've been through so much that little bit of mistake, you lose money on a deal or whatever. Well, you know what? I did that so many times. So it doesn't bother me. But I think a lot of people that they want success, but they can't handle the pressure that comes with success. So they want the glory, but they don't have the guts. And I think that's a big problem. And you cannot have the glory without the guts.
It's funny you say that because I've been through this journey myself. When I started Join Up Dots, I wanted a global show that was really successful. And when I got it, for a while, I kind of almost went into myself. I was thinking, I don't know if I'm big enough to do this. I don't know if I want to sort of take it where I wanted. It was all right having the dream, but actually starting to feel the dream come your way was kind of overload. Do you think that's from sort of our parents? Do you think that's our programming, or is that just the way across the world that we can't really deal with the responsibility of creating that success until we've lived it for a while?
I think most of the time, I think our parents, our upbringing, that they might have the best intention for us, but the era that we live in now compared to before is very, very different. I'll give you a perfect story. That when I first got into speaking, that I told my mom that, Mom, like I'm talking in my early 20s, right? And I still, at the time, speak with an accent. I still speak with an accent. So I said, hey, Mom. And at the time, I joined Toastmasters, which is like a nonprofit speaking club, right? And I was honing my skills, developing my skill. And I was so inspired by all these other like speakers and motivational speakers on stage. And I listened to their cassette tapes. David, those, right? Cassette tapes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And VHS tapes. And I was watching those. I was like, wow, what if someday I could do that? And I went home and I told my mom, Mom, someday I'm going to be a professional speaker. And she was washing dishes in the kitchen. She looked at me and she kept washing the dishes. She looked at me. I said, Mom, I'm going to be a speaker. She said, go do your homework. So she doesn't quite get the vision. And I love my mom, but, but that's she doesn't understand. It's not in her world. She's like, well, go to school and you get good grades and you get a job and that's it. You get married, have a couple kids. That's going to be your life. I still remember one time, because my father at the time was living in Hong Kong. So one time he was coming to Canada to visit me. At the time I was already reasonably successful, making, decent money. And I was driving him in a brand new car. I was driving him and I was somehow, I don't know why, I had one of my CDs, my educational CDs, like my own program in the CD player. So he pressed play. He said, oh, what is this? And he pressed play and he was listening to what I was talking about. And he listened to it. And about 10 minutes into the way, he clicked eject the CD. He looked at me and said, you still doing that internet shit?
And when they did that, because
Yes.
when I was a teenager, my VHS was probably pornography, and nowadays kids have got it lucky because they don't have to rewind the tape when the mum's coming up the stairs. They can just stop streaming, so they're lucky. We had it hard then. We had it hard with VHS and stuff. But when I was a kid growing up, I never had that around me at all, and I don't know anyone who had the ability and the sort of a forward thinking of actually buying these kind of tapes. Did you see it from someone? Did you get the idea from someone? How did you suddenly realize that these tapes of the educational speakers was around and something that you could tap into?
I was just hungry. I was just hungry for success, to make something of myself. Well, first of all, it's also out of necessity because then my mom and dad got divorced when I was 16 years old. So as the only child in my family, I wanted to take care of my mom. So I had to stop being a boy and learn to be a man and grow up and mature. And I know I couldn't provide for my mom working a dead-end job or making minimum wage, which is what I was making back then. So that's not good. So I had to find some way. And I was just looking at, reading books, Think and Grow Rich, and all these other success books, whatever it takes. And one book leads to another. So I had this hunger, this insatiable hunger of finding the answers of, why some people are successful, why some people are be able to create wealth, why they could have that kind of lifestyle. Why couldn't I have that? What's missing? So, and whatever the answers, I just bought all these things, and if I see Tony Robbins on, I remember that was, I think, Personal Power 1 cassette tapes, and I bought it from TV. Whatever it is, like that sounds like might give me the answer I'm looking for, I would just buy that. And I would attend workshops, and so I was just very, very hungry because I wanted it. The problem is most people, they say they want it, they don't want it that bad.
Well, why do you think they do? Well, no, I'm going to jump in with the first question that popped into my head. I was fascinated with the story that you was driving along with your dad, and you said I was earning decent money then. What do you call decent money now? Because obviously
mid six figure a year.
Okay, so anything lower than that, you think you've had a bad year?
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what makes you move from that I'm earning decent money, where most people would settle at that point? They've got a nice car, they've got a nice house, because that is a ceiling you've got to break through, isn't it? To actually go to that next level and that next level. And that's one of the things that I see so many people struggle with. And I know that's what you coach, where they're already successful. They're already at that point where their life is good, but it can be so much bigger and so much bolder. How do you do that? But how did you do that yourself when you went from that new car to, helicopters and God knows what?
So let me explain. I think first in life we go through 4 stages. And I think what motivated me back then to what motivates me now is very, very different. So let me walk you through that. I think the first stage we go through life is what I call survival. Means we want to make enough money just to pay the bills. Just we have shelter, roof over our head, so we can have food on the table that we can eat just to survive, right? And a lot of people, they try to get the job, try to make enough money, pay the bills. And that's where most people operate in. And then if you work hard and you're willing to learn and you're coachable and learn from different people, then you might evolve to a second stage. It's what I call security. Now you are a little bit more comfortable, not just survival mode, but you've got a car, maybe you've got a family, and you're taking a couple of vacations a year. You're comfortable, so you have some security in your life. And a big chunk, a majority of our society operate level 1 and level 2, and then you move to what I call success, stage 3. When you are success, now you don't just have everything you need, you have everything you want. You don't have just an okay car, you have the car that you want, right? You don't just have a house, you have the house that you want. You don't just take some vacation, you take that dream vacation. You don't just do it once a year, you do it multiple times a year. So you have more than enough, right? And a lot of successful entrepreneurs, even my friends, sometimes they stay in that level, and that's okay. But I believe there's one more level that we should evolve to, which is significance, stage 4. When you shift from success to significance, now you're no longer doing things just for yourself. Your motivation is no longer just internal. Now it shifts from internal to external, meaning what's your legacy? How are you impacting people? I hate to sound so cliche, but it's how can you make the world a better place using your talents, using your gifts? Now, here's the thing, David. The first 3, it's all about me. How can I make my life better? But here's the thing. Once you have attained certain level of success, that, you know what? You are driving the car that you want. You are living in the house that you want. You have all those nice things. If you still focus on that, you will lose motivation because you already have them. Yeah. That doesn't motivate you anymore. So you need to set your goal to be higher instead of, hey, how can I make, David enough money so I'm well off that I could do those things. That's nice. But when you shift your focus, let's say with you, your show, or let's say with me, to impact 1 million entrepreneurs, suddenly my focus is different. But here's what's very interesting. When you shift your focus from internal to external to serving more people, impacting more people, guess what? More success comes your way. It comes to you faster and easier, so does wealth. It's interesting how it works. When you need money, desperately need money, when you chase money, money doesn't come to you. Money doesn't go to the people who are desperate. If it does, all the homeless people would be rich because they need money, right? They need money.
I'm going to jump into there because speaking about myself, because it's my show, Dan, I think when I started this show, I went straight into zone 4 because it was never about the money. It was always about getting my passion that I used to show in pubs and in offices and in training environments out to the world to try to influence people to go for something bigger than what they've got. So I think I went straight for zone 4, and I would have been happy to do it and not earn any money anyway. It was just something that I had to get out of me. I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you totally, because now I think, although I went through a stage where the show wasn't financially viable for me, it didn't really bother me. But now it's coming to me quicker because I was willing to go through that period, whereas basically I went through 1, 2, and 3 very, very quickly. Is that the key mistake of people getting rich then? We're going to talk about getting rich, but is it the fact that it's me, and not you?
Yeah, and that's why you can see sometimes people, they might have attained financial success and have a lot of friends who fall into that category, that they have the stuff, they have the toys, but they're miserable, they're not happy. Now, on the other hand, you have a lot of people who are just regular, average, they don't have a lot of money, but they're very, very happy. But I think there should be a happy medium. That some people sometimes, I have friends who just chase significance, but they're broke. That they cannot provide for their family. They cannot provide for themselves. They cannot even pay the bills on time. I don't think that's healthy either, right? I think that's why I think it's a balance of both. That why not have the money, but also be able to make the impact? So then with your business, with as a vehicle, that you could do that you could have a great life, but also help others, but also provide for your family and live the life that you want, live life on your own terms. So I think that's what I teach and that's what I strive for to do. So what motivated me before, I can tell you the first 10 years of my life, I'm not proud to admit it, but the first, let's say from my 20 to my 30 years old, I was motivated by ego. Because when I was young, as I shared with you, when I first came to Canada, I had no friends. I was the kid that would sit in the very back of the classroom, never put up my hand, never ask any questions. I had no friends. I wasn't getting attention. I wasn't getting anything from anybody. So as soon as I got into business, my only motive was, let me show you guys how smart I am. Let me prove to you that I am somebody, which is not healthy, right? For the first 10 years, ego-driven. That's why I had those nice things. That's why I do all those things and buy the sports car and all the fancy things, because I want to prove to the world that I'm somebody. But when I turned 30 years old, I realized, you know what? That is not the path to fulfillment. That is a destructive path. That ego self, that's not who I am. It's just my own insecurity that I needed those things that to show the world that I'm somebody, I'm smart, or I'm whatever, right? So, but then as I mature, and I'm like, you know what, those things are actually not important to me. What I really want is to be able to impact others through my work, through my business, through my intelligence, right? I want people's respect. I also want to be able to transform their lives, right? So when I shift that from me to now focusing on other people, the way I operate, the way I run my business, the business I'm involved with, like all those things all shifted. So now not only I get the success, but I also get the fulfillment.
But let's play some words, and then I'm going to delve back into your story to where you are today, because you really are rocking and rolling on so many levels. But here's Jim Carrey.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
I love that Jim Carrey speech. Yeah, I listened to that a couple of times.
Powerful stuff, and you've already sort of alluded to the fact that your mum was kind of like a Jim Carrey's dad that she didn't quite believe. Go back and do your homework. Now, I was doing some research on you, and I noticed that you have got a mentor called Daniel Pena. And,
Dan Pena, yes.
Yeah, very strong personality. If you don't like bad language, I would keep away from him, but I found him fascinating in so many regards. Yes. When you find those kind of people, does that make Jim Carrey's words easier to go for? Is it all right to say you might as well go for the things you love, but until you see other people doing it, you can't quite believe? You need to see it in real life.
And I think a couple of things. First, I want to say I wouldn't be where I am without my mentors. I've had two major mentors in my life. The first mentor that I had when I was younger, his name is Alan Jacks. very successful businessman. The second mentor that I have is Mr. Pena, that has been my mentor for now, I think 8-9 years now. And his claim to fame is known as the $50 billion man, but his claim to fame is he grew a company from scratch from zero to $450 million in 8 years. So I call him Big Dan, by the way. Big Dan, he taught me how to think big. It taught me how to be a high performance individual. He taught me a lot of good habits because, again, growing up, I didn't have that father figure. He kind of sort of became my father figure that I looked up to him, and he kicked my ass and pushed me and challenged me. Now, it goes back to about love and passion. I have a slightly different point of view when it comes to that, because some people might say that, oh, just follow your passion, love what you do, and you'll be successful. And if I'm speaking, let's say, pretend I'm speaking to a group of 100 people, I ask them to put up their hand. How many of you are doing what you love? Put up your hand. Oh, yeah. And how many of you are doing what you love, but you're doing what you love, but you're still struggling financially? A lot of those hands will go up. Yeah. So I think that's part of it. You got to be passionate about what you do, obviously, because that would got to carry you through the tough time. You got to love what you do. But I think you also have to love you gotta do what it takes. So let me give you a perfect example. Okay. Let's say you want to have a 6-pack abs. Okay. You want to be fit. You want to look like, just like a model kind of body. Okay. But right now you're overweight. Now, for most people, if you want that kind of body, you want a 6-pack abs, that's a price you got to pay. You got to watch your diet, right? You got to go work out. You got to do cardio. You got to do those crunches and sit up and all those programs, right? That's not pleasant. You might not love it, and chances are, get up in the morning, got to go to the gym. That's just hard work. But if you want that 6-pack abs, you got to do what it takes. If you're willing to do what it takes, you might not like it so much. But guess what? If you showed up every day at the gym, every morning, and you watch your diet, you follow the program, you do the training, you're going to get those results. And most people, I think they underestimate what it takes to get those results. And that's why they give up so easily. Because, oh man, I go to the gym once a week, and I work out for 30 minutes, and I tried it for 3 months. How come I'm still fat? Well, because you underestimate what it takes to get to that 6-pack abs. It's the same when it comes to business, comes to success. You think it takes this much work? The reality is it takes 10 times that plus the failures in between. If you think of it that way, wow, that's what it takes. Then you have to ask yourself, do you actually want it? Are you willing to do what it takes to pay price to action? Are you willing to pay the price for success? And the price for success, you got to pay that up front. There's no installment plan. You got to pay that up front. And if you say, you know what, Dan, I'm willing to do that, then there's not a problem. It's not going to stop you. If you got to show up every day, you're going to put in the long hours, you do it. If you have to deal with failures, you have to deal with rejection, you have to deal with embarrassment, it doesn't bother you because you, in your mind, you anticipated that. I think that's what I'm talking about. It's doing whatever it takes, not just doing what you love.
So if you look back on those 13 businesses that failed, how many of them now, if you look back on them, would survive with your knowledge and your experience? Would they all be on a life support system, or would they be flourishing, or were they just dead ducks and you look back on them and think, actually...
I think they would still be dead ducks because nowadays, because people tell me that, oh, Dan, you got the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns into gold. And, business, investments. I said, well, you should have met me when I was young, when everything I turned turns into shit. Yeah. Right? And I've gone through that period of time, and I just wouldn't have back then. I'm talking. I just didn't know. I didn't have business acumen. I didn't have a lot of business skills, and I didn't know what is a good business or bad business. And nowadays, I believe as an entrepreneur, choosing the right business and choosing the right business vehicle it's as important, if not more important, than the entrepreneur himself or herself.
So how does somebody know that then? How do they know that it's the right business for their skills?
I think, first of all, before you get into you start any kind of business, you have to ask yourself the question, why you and why now? What qualifies you to be in this business? Just because so-and-so made some money doing it. So let's say David has a successful podcast. Does that mean you should do a podcast? Maybe, maybe not, right? Just because, Dan is in digital marketing, should you be in digital marketing? Maybe, maybe not. So you have to ask yourself, why you and why now? And second thing, you have to know yourself. Most people don't know themselves that well, meaning that know your strength. There's a book that I love called Strength Finders 2.0.
Yeah, we're big on that.
So know your own strength. What are you good at? What are your skills? What are you not good at? What's your background? What are some of the contacts you might have? All those things need to take into consideration. So it's not just so-and-so made money doing that I should jump into that. And so-and-so made money doing that I should jump into that. Well, I have friends who made a lot of money from the stock market. I don't do stock market. It's not what I do. It's not what I'm good at. It's not where I put my money. I put my money in real estate. Now, does that mean you should put your money in real estate? Hell no, right? So it all depends. So knowing yourself, the industry. I think in every single industry, there are what I call trade secrets or insider secrets. No different than, let's say, David, if you ask you, anyone, let's say if I was to, let's say I don't have a podcast.
Yeah.
And I was to want to start a podcast. And if I was to ask you, hey, give me some insights. How do you do it? What are the ins and outs? What are mistakes that you made? You will have a depth of knowledge that that a lot of people don't know because you've gone through it, right? And if I learn that from you and you're willing to share, chances of me succeeding is higher. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In every business, I believe there are those trade secrets, that the insider knowledge that some people know, and that's what gives them an edge, and most people don't know. Now, the key is, can you get into that industry and figure that out before you run out of money?
Well, this is a key thing, isn't it? And I think this is a real big question, because so many people will want to be getting into something, but they feel that they haven't got value enough. They can't go and ask questions to people. There's a big sort of mindset that you've got to smash down. Now, I know from experience of going through it that if you reach out in the right way and it's not just trying to grab, people are very generous with their time and they will answer amazing questions and can really help you. But for the entrepreneur or the wannabe entrepreneur sitting at their desk listening to these conversations thinking, I want to do this, more often than not, they're thinking small, aren't they? They're thinking, oh, Dan's not going to say anything to me. Oh, why would he speak to me? Or why would David speak to me? Or why would Richard Branson speak to me? But generally, if you do it the right way, they will do. And you can find those insider secrets reasonably easily, I would have thought.
Yeah, and also it goes back to knowing yourself, why you, why now. But I think another thing is, in terms of, I'm talking business model now, and you have to know what is your end goal. Are you wanting to be a lifestyle entrepreneur, meaning you want to make a certain amount of money, let's say, $20K a month, and you want to work from home, be able to spend time with your kids. Let's pretend that's your goal. Well, then there are a lot of business models that would fit into that, and there are a lot of business models that won't fit into that, because there are certain business models that will require you to commute to work, or that you cannot work from home, that you cannot have your own hours. Now, on the other hand, if your goal is to build a $20 million, $50 million, $100 million company, well, that's a little bit different, right? That now that the sacrifices you have to make, the business model itself that you pick, does the vehicle have the chances of even hitting that kind of number? So that's again a different thing that you need to take into consideration. So knowing your kind of end game, your outcome, what exactly you want, and how do you want your business to serve you, I think that makes a difference. Again, back then when I was young, all I wanted was to make enough money, a decent living, working from home, kind of like a lifestyle laptop entrepreneur. When I did that, and that's cool, and now I wanted to do more, impacting more people, and I'm already doing that. And now I want to go into bigger things and bigger goals and build bigger company. And that's just me, because I find that it's challenging. It makes life more interesting, right? But again, that's just me. I'm not projecting on and imposing my goal and my value on other people. But you have to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, and is that the right business to get you there?
Is it as much about image, Dan? Because I can see there's a lovely time frame on your website, Dan's story, and it goes from baby Dan. You were very cute, baby Dan, I have to say.
Thank you.
I would have taken you home myself. And then you can sort of move all the way through to the 8-figure entrepreneur. And it's a journey. Even like 5 or 12 years ago, you do not look like you do now. And is image as important as success? Do people need to see the success to really believe the success?
I think I'll answer the questions two ways. Okay. Image, it depends on what you do. If you're hiding behind your computer, it may not be so important. But one thing I have learned from Big Dan, my mentor, is he said to me many years ago, he said, Dan, you can't get rich looking poor.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. That when you are, I'm just generalizing this, okay? Of course, you have Richard Branson who dressed casual, right? I met him once. You have certain people who dress very casual. Steve Jobs dressed casual. They can dress whatever they want. They're billionaires, right? But I think for most people that when you want to dress to impress, I think at maybe 6-figure, maybe even 7-figure level, that you could get away with that. But at a higher level of business that you're dealing with big dollars, big amount, then yeah, why not have that as your advantage, the way that you dress? And UK, as you know, people dress very well in UK. Business people, right? So why not dress to impress? That gives you an advantage. And second thing is not just impress other people, because I believe when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you perform better. Even when you go into a presentation or go into a business negotiation, when you're in your quote unquote power suit, don't you feel more powerful? Don't you feel more confident? Then why not give yourself that edge? And also, I think it wires your nervous system that to be comfortable with success. I can tell you the number one reason why most people are not successful is because they're not comfortable with success. Not fear of failure, fear of success.
Yeah, which takes us back to the beginning of our conversation. In my own small way, I have a global hit show. It's all I ever wanted, but there was that journey. I remember saying to somebody, I almost feel like smashing this up because I realise now that I've created something that I can't escape from. It's going to be with me from the rest of my life. And my mate said, why don't you just walk away from it? And I said, yeah, I will do. I'm going to walk away from it for 2 weeks. So I set it all up on automatic pilot. I walked away and I kind of got clarity in my life. But there was a time I was thinking, who's going to be the host to join? Oh, it's got to be me. Who's going to do it? Oh, it's going to be me. And it was all kind of me. And as it was getting bigger and bigger, I hadn't grown into that. I was still thinking small. Now, Dan, I can say to you, I want global domination and I want to be number one in every single territory in the world and stuff. And I think that's why I set off in the beginning. And I don't mean that in a cocky, arrogant way, but that is the dream that I'm going for. So when I look in Sweden now, and I'm getting more and more listeners in there, and Denmark and Macedonia, who knows? I was actually number one in Macedonia this week in business. I didn't even know where Macedonia was, but it excites me. It excites me greatly. So I think I can
hear from your voice that passion. That's what we're talking about. That doesn't come from if you're complacent. That comes from when you have a goal so freaking big that it motivates you, it inspires you, right?
Yeah.
And every time you want to go to that next level, guess what? You have to let go of something that you have now.
Let's talk about that then. So what do you mean then by that? So you build a certain amount of income, you build a certain amount of status, and you've got to say, actually, I'm willing to lose that to move forward. You can't take it with you?
It's that you have to reinvent yourself if you want to go to that next level.
Right.
That example, I'll give you a perfect example. I can only share my own career, right? What has worked for me. So in my early 20s, one of my businesses I was just a copywriter. And I was just writing copy for other people, other entrepreneurs. And I was making like $10K a month and good money, right? $120K a year as a young guy. And I thought that was good. But as I can see that most people will be happy with that. Like early 20s, 10K a month, that's good money, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people would stay there. But I found that I was stuck at doing gigs after gigs after gigs. And what, am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life? I don't know, right? And I thought at the time, 10K to me was like 10 million, seriously, for a young guy, right? And from there, I said, you know what? If I want to go to the next level, I got to evolve. So I transitioned myself, instead of being a copywriter, to be more of a marketing consultant, to be a strategist. And the minute I decided that, I called all my cooperating clients. I said, you know what? I can no longer work for you anymore. That I'm not going to be doing this anymore. I'm going to transition to a different business, blah, 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 right? And that, see, I had to let go of something that's working, that's bringing in money right now into be able to do the next thing, right? And same thing when I got from...
But your wife or your family must have gone, Dan, you're going mental, mate. You're going mental. You've done all right. You must have been surrounded by people that just thought you was having a midlife crisis.
Yes. But my whole life, I don't try to please other people. I mean, the only person I have to please when I look in the mirror, am I happy with the decision? Can I live with that decision?
Yeah.
But they would definitely be fearful, and I would sense resistance from them, but they always see my conviction and they always believe in my ability. I can tell you, David, my whole life, okay, I have found very few people that could. I don't mean to sound like an arrogant way, right? I'm just saying I found very few people, and I met with thousands and thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, right? That they could outwork, outsmart, and outlearn me. That my ability to execute, that by the time they're taking 3 steps, I'm taking 10 steps. By the time you read 50 books, I've read 200. And just the way I operate. And when my family sees that, they have confidence, right? So where I went from being a marketer, so cooperator being a marketer, from marketer being an internet marketer, from internet marketer being a public speaker, from a public speaker being a deal maker, from a deal maker being an investor, right? From an investor now being mentor to other people, many things that I do. And every single time I need to go to that, I want to go to that next level, I had to let go of something that's working very well. Think about it. If you don't have a lot of success right now and you think it's difficult to reinvent and go to the next level, imagine you have a business that's making you money, putting food on your table, giving you comfort, and you got to say to yourself, I'm going to let that go so I can go chase my next dream. That is very, very hard. Very hard. And you got to do that multiple times in your career. Now I've done that multiple times and I'm still doing it, right? I'm only 36.
Yeah, but you're 36, but you're like 120 as well, aren't you? When when I look at you in so many regards, I think to myself,
I'm an old soul for sure.
Yeah, you certainly are. You're like Yoda. You're almost timeless. God knows how old you're going to be when you are sort of like 70. You're going to be about 1,000 years old. Is that because of conversations? Is that experience? Because the thing that interests me as well with you, Dan, is the fact that you seem to have boundless energy. You don't seem to be exhausted by it. And I talk to a load of people that are running much smaller empires than you, and they look haggard and drawn and tired, and they can't free themselves from behind their computer. But you seem to be playing. You seem to be playing the big game, and it's energizing you instead of sucking out of you.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Because if you pick the right thing and you do it for the right reason with the right people, like with the right partners, they should energize you. It shouldn't be like right now as I'm recording this, you probably know, Canada, my time, it's over midnight as I'm recording this, right? Do I sound tired?
No.
Do I sound like, right? It's the same thing. So I love what I do. And for podcasts, like these type of things, I promise myself that I'm going to block a certain amount of time, not to get PR. It's more that, hey, I'll share my story. Maybe my story will impact somebody that's listening to this, right? That's part of myself, of giving me like my fulfillment kind of column that goes into that to giving back, right? I'll block a certain amount of time to mentor. I'll block a certain amount of time to donate money and that kind of thing, right? So that's my fulfillment column. But exactly, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. That with my career, you're inventing yourself. That you gotta know yourself. You got to know yourself, and you got to be willing to pay the price. And I'm not special. I want to say that I'm not special, but I've just outworked a lot of people. My experience we joke about, it's just because I fail a lot more. I've just done a lot more things at a young age.
Yeah, but isn't that special then? Because people are frightened of failure, and the fact that you're just willing to do it, that does make you can be humble about it, but that does make you special.
I think in a way it's a little bit of stubborn. It's I'm gonna make it work. That I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna figure this out. I think that little bit of stubbornness, but I'm not particularly. I don't think myself I'm like super smart. I mean, I was a C student in school, but one thing that I am is I'm very, very coachable. So when I learn from Big Dan, when I learn from Alan, that when they tell me something, I don't question. I say, you know what?
Yeah.
They ask me to do something. I'm very coachable. I'm very open, and I do my very best to learn from everybody. Even people who are what I call reverse role models, I could still learn something from them, right?
Well, let's play some words now that we can all learn from. And he said these back in 2005. He's no longer with us, but his words are. Here's Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
So in that regard with those words, I think you kind of already answered it. The thing that you trust in is yourself. The fact that you look in the mirror and you can actually, go, yes, this is a good decision or it's not a good decision. Now, there's a lot of research going on at the moment. It's probably been going on for years, but I've just discovered it, about your second brain being the gut. That is what that controls your feelings. And if you're scared, your gut knows before your head. And if you're in love, the gut knows. And are you a gut follower? Do you use that as your sort of first brain instead of your second brain?
Oh, 100%. I believe that. I always say, I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt.
Yeah.
That I may be wrong, but I have confidence in myself that even this wrong decision, I'll go for it. I'll learn from it. And chances are, I think for men, 90% of the time, your gut intuition, it's 90% of them correct. For women, it's probably like more than 95%. So you should listen to that. And I do also credit. I want to give a quick shout out to my wife, Jenny. That I credit a lot of my success to my wife. That I believe behind every successful man is a smarter woman, and in this case, is very, very true. So she helped me, gave me feedback, supports me, but also keeps me grounded. Right? Gives me just before this, just for David, just side note, but it's kind of funny. But just before this, where I was just helping out, in my home and taking all the trash. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even Dan takes out the trash, right?
Yeah, but you should. As long as you're not wearing your bright red suit, because I don't want you to get rubbish on your suit.
Honey, I'm a TEDx speaker. I make all this money. I have all these things, and I'm making all this impact, and I'm going to be on a show with David, right? It's going to be a global show. My wife looks at me, take out the trash. I love it. Right?
But that says really that the balance is there. Out of everything you've said and everything that I've read about you, behind the glossy suits and the speaking and all that kind of stuff, you have got the balance, it seems to me, right. And that is where energy comes from. That is the yin and yang, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. That philosophy that sometimes, I wish, as you know, in social media and even YouTube and all that, people, they see exactly like the red suit, or they see you in a certain way, and they judge you very, very quickly. And they think, oh, Dan he must be very arrogant. He must be so full of himself, or he must be this, he must be that. And people say that kind of thing, or they leave that kind of comment. Chances are they don't know you that well, right? They're just haters. But people who know me, people who actually know me, who've talked to me, who have done business with me, I think you get a very different opinion from them of what I'm like and how I live and how I operate. It's very, very different.
And what drives you forward now? Because you've gone beyond yourself, so it's about other people. But how can you continue to provide increased value to these people that you want to support?
So now I'll give you a perfect example. So before I turned 30 years old, every single one of my companies, every single one of my business ventures, I own 100%. I'm the only shareholder. After that, now every single one of my company, I have a partner. It's partnership. So now my priority has shifted, not just focusing on myself, but also creating wealth and providing a better lifestyle for my business partners, for the people around me, right? For my mentees, and also through social media, they're sharing what I know. Now I upload a daily video on YouTube, right? That I do a lot of these things. I could give back. I don't have to worry about, I want to monetize it. I want to sell something. I don't really care, right? I don't need to make money from that. I could do that. I could block out the time to do that because I just have the freedom to do so. So I can do a lot of these things now that my friend was asking me, well, how are you going to monetize it? What's the business model? I said, there's no business model. I'm not doing this to make money. It's much easier for me to make money with other things, right? With my businesses. But I'm doing it so that it becomes a library, an archive, maybe for my kids in the future that, hey, watch your dad's stuff. Listen to that, read that book. That's my lifetime of knowledge. And every single day, I'm sure you get that too, right? That every single day you get some email, some comment from people around the world that your show or your work has impacted them in some way. Now, here's what I do. Maybe this you could learn that you can try this on. So every single time that I get a thank you email, I get a thank you comment, I have a printer in my office. I will print it out. I will actually physically print it out. And I would take that piece of paper and I would put that in my gratitude box. I've got a huge box at home. I put it in a gratitude box. And my goal is to get 1 million of those. 1 million. And I tell my wife, if I passed away before she does, when I die, please burn these papers all in my gratitude box from people, all these nice comments and thoughts that I know that have impacted them in some way. Burn these, turn them into ashes, and just bury them with my body. That's my legacy. So my goal is to impact 1 million people, right? And now I'm doing quite well. I think now I've got probably maybe 100,000 or so, roughly, of these papers. And I still have 90% to go. So in the next whatever how many years, I still have a lot of work to do.
I love that. And I remember speaking to Jack Canfield many years ago, and he was saying that every day he walks around his house going, I'm grateful for that lump of cheese. I'm grateful for that fridge. Yes. I'm grateful for that. And at the time I thought to myself, that's madness. Why would you do that? But I've heard it so many times now that it seems to be the key point. The more grateful for it, the more that comes to you anyway. Is a real win-win.
Yeah, and wealth is gratitude. You could have $1 million and feel that you are lacking, that it's not enough, and that you feel a lot of scarcity. Or you can have a very little, but if you're grateful, that you will feel this joy and this abundance and this wealth, right? So wealth is a state of mind. It's not how much money in the bank. Now, it helps we have your money in the bank. But if you are not wealthy, you don't feel wealthy when you have no money. Even when you have money, it doesn't necessarily make you feel wealthy. You need to kind of work on it and actually block out the time. I do this every morning, attitude of gratitude. Actually, if you go to YouTube, you type in Dan Lok, attitude of gratitude, there's an audio track, a meditation that I go through every single morning. It's on YouTube. I've got hundreds of thousands of people have gone through it. It's free, right? I listen to that every single morning for 10, 12 minutes. I start the day with gratitude. That's part of my morning ritual.
Well, I'm grateful that you've been on the show today, sir, and I know all our listeners are as well. But there's a part of the show that we've been building up to, and we're going to send you on a journey. This is the part of the show that we call the Sermon on the Mic, when we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go into a room and see the young Dan, what age would you choose and what advice would you give him? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the music, and when it fades, you're up. This is the Sermon on the Mic.
With the best bit of the show, the Sermon on the Mic, the Sermon on the Mic.
I would say find a mentor early. Don't wait. And don't think you know it all. Don't think you are that smart. And don't be so freaking self-centered. Learn that you are not that important. You are just a human being. And don't be driven by greed. Instead of, you should be driven by impact, by helping others. You'll be happier. You would experience more joy. And that's truly who you are. That all the materialistic things, it actually don't matter that much to you. That you're driven by other people. That seeing other people light up, being able to impact their lives, that's your life and that's your path and that's your purpose. Follow that and you'll be a very happy and successful guy.
And do you think the little Dan would have listened to you?
No. I think he would have. He would still make all those mistakes, and then until he made enough mistakes, I think everybody has to go through that. I wish I didn't have to go through that, but I was young, right? I mean, brash, and kind of trying to find my place in the world. But I'm glad I found that still early, because I still think I'm quite young. I found it early, and now I have found the right balance, and I found my purpose. And then because most people sometimes live their whole lives, don't find a purpose. I'm very grateful, right? I have a great family. I've got a loving wife. I've got my mom, right? I've got people. I have great friends around me. I have great mentees. I've got, the lifestyle. So life is good. Sometimes my friend asks me, how's it going, Dan? I said, well, nothing to complain. Life is pretty good.
And so I suppose the last question before we send you on your way is, are you richer in personal life or bank account? What's your priority?
Oh, definitely. Before I would say, bank account. Now 100% richer in person. 100% richer in person. But the bank account thing, again, if I don't focus on it, it's just there. That money just comes when you do good work and when you serve people and you do the right thing. Just money. It's funny to say, and I know sometimes for people listening to this, easy for you to say, Dan. Making money is actually quite easy. It's actually quite an easy thing to do. It's not rocket science.
Provide enough value for people, and then it comes your way.
Yeah, it comes your way. If you're not making a lot, ask yourself: are you impacting a lot of people, or are you making a big enough impact? The depth, right? A big enough impact to people. If not, that's why you're not making a lot.
That finishes the episode perfectly. Dan, what's the number one best way that our audience can connect with you, sir?
I think, again, it goes back to adding value. They can search me on social media. I'm sure they could find it. I could also, I want to give you a copy of my book called FU Money. If you have not read it, you can get it from Amazon for like $20 or something. A lot of people, they enjoy that book a lot. But you can also go to fumoney.com. FU-money as in Frank, fumoney.com, and just download the book for free.
Brilliant. That is that. And I'll tell you what, I've watched a lot of your videos. I've watched you doing a webinar course. I've watched you doing how to sell to high ticket people. I like to delve into people. And there's some good stuff. So if you are wanting to create a business and you are thinking, I haven't got the money to sort of invest, I recommend Dan's materials because it's top notch and it's all out there for you. So Dan, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots, and please come back again when you've got more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Mr. Dan Lok, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Mr. Dan Lok. So that was, that is one of those episodes that I think, you need to go back and listen to. So many times pennies dropped when I was talking to Dan. We're discussing confidence that leads to success, but providing value first, but really getting to know yourself, really understanding what it is you want to achieve. Now, I have got a 11-part video course that you can have for free. I used to link it to my website, but we're having a jig on the website at the moment. So if you want that, just send me an email at joinupdots@gmail.com and I will send it through to you free of charge, and you can go through every step that basically we spoke about in that episode to try to find the thing that you really want to do and plays to your strengths. Once you've got that, then it is a journey you need to go on to, but it's a journey that all of you can do, but you've just got to start. You hear me say the same thing almost on every episode of Join Up Dots. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and as always, hope to see you again. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.